Oh, I liked hearing that little tinkle sound.
You're in a completely different place.
I am, and there is air conditioning sound. I wonder if you can hear it.
I can hear it. Clear as a bell. That's going to be fun.
So what?
We can say that when we tell everybody. We can leave this conversation in, and everybody will be impressed that you are in an airless box.
Yeah, I think impressed is not the word I would use.
Don't matter. We can just say, hey, there's sound in the background. People will be excited to have a different sonic landscape.
Let's just do a bit of silence now, just in case it's really bad.
Okay.
This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing.
Hey,
Oh, I heard a ting on my telephone.
was that you? Yeah.
It was my. It was
Mine.
me.
Look at my, look at
my.
Do you know that ever since we changed the opening kind of, welcome to midlifing bit, I wince when I hear it because, because I sound a little bit odd, and then your beautiful, rich, warm sounding voice is the thing that we leave our listeners with. And I feel a little bit inadequate. I feel like we should we should re-record that, and you should do it all.
Well, we can re-record whatever you want, but I want you to know that I share your anxiety, but not because of your recording, but because of mine, because I feel that I've left too much of a beat between welcome and the word to. So I feel like I've gone, welcome to midlifing, and it's just a bit too long. And I also feel that I say to a little bit too, with too much ooh noise. And
like poo,
go,
basically.
Welcome to midlifing. And I was like, oh, welcome to midlifing. I just feel like I hit it a bit too hard, but I couldn't be asked to.
I think it would be great if we went, welcome to midlifing.
I like how you left enough space for us all to be able to hear your air conditioning.
It's all about the air conditioning today.
All about the air
It's keeping me, what is it keeping me? Dried out.
Dried out, yeah.
Actually, I've got a big bucket of water next to me just to avoid that possibility.
Oh, that's good. Do you put your feet in it or your hand in it, or do you just allow it to...
Don't make jokes when I'm drinking from it. I almost spluttered on the road then. I mean, and when I say road, I mean the microphone.
RODE microphone. Mm-hmm. I thought you were lapping out of it like a trough.
And there you go, calling me a cow. What a way to start this conversation, Lee Miller. I'm very disappointed.
I know, and I'm sorry, especially after last week. You gave us such a lovely in to the idea of hope and
and what do I get? What do I get in return? Your half-divided attention, and
you might, yeah.
How's the teaching going?
They're on a break. It's fine. They just wandered up.
So, dear listeners, at the moment, well, not directly at the moment.
Don't make it.
No,
don't
I'm not.
Make it harder for me to edit this. I'm
not because we're having to sort of juggle between bouts of work at the moment, and so this episode is going to be a little bit cut more than normal because every now and again Lee will have to go back to give his full attention to the teaching that's happening on the screen in front of him, and then when that finishes,
now I've got to cut that out again.
No, you don't, because you're not. We're taking breaks when they're having breaks. That's when we take our recording.
I don't want people to think that I'm not giving my undivided attention to midlifing, because of course I am. And I am also giving undivided attention to the things that pay my mortgage.
Yes, at the same time, I like the way you do math. I'm giving my undivided attention to all those things at the same time.
Because my attention is limitless. I am. It's because I am legion and we are many.
I don't know what I am. Is that Shakespeare?
No, it's the Bible.
I am legion and we are many.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's what the man who is possessed says to Jesus.
Oh, you mean the New Testament?
I think so. I'm sorry that I didn't lean into the old one. I am Legion.
I thought you were going to drop some Walt Whitman on me then. You know, that whole "I contain multitudes."
Oh, that would have been nice. But I'm sure that Walt Whitman is just robbing from the Bible anyway, isn't he?
Yes, I think that's a show title.
In the New International Version of the Bible, then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many."
And who was that saying? I mean, I know his name was Legion, but who was saying it?
It's in chapter 5, verse 9 in the book of Mark, and I don't know because I don't really care. Beelzebub. Bilateral.
Did you just say Beelzebub? I thought you should say. I think we should do a little bonus episode, a little part where people can get to play this part backwards when I go Nates, Nates, Nates. So they can play that little bit. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, just like in the fourth album by that band from the 1970s, Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin, if you play that little bit of midlifing backwards, you will hear a secret message.
Yes, in fact, the entirety of our midlifing has simply been us trying to raise a demon. Very, very poorly.
I just don't think you use the word enough.
It's because I always feel like I'm saying egg.
Yeah,
So it's from Mark 5:9. I don't know who he's asking. Some dude who is evidently possessed.
It will be in the show notes.
I don't know that we have a name for him.
Wow. Is it sort of saying that there are so many of us are possessed that we're not?
Well, no,
he's not alone.
It's not. No, he is saying that he contains. It's the Walt Whitman.
Multitudes.
He contains multitudes. Yeah, it's the idea that there are lots of people inside of him.
Wow.
It's like when
it's like multiple personality disorder.
Yeah, which is probably all it was. Or yeah, like when Reagan says to Father Damien Karras in The Exorcist, "Your mother's in here, Karras.
What?
Do you want me to give her a message?"
What else does
I'll see she gets it. What else does she say? She says, "Your mother eats jelly babies in hell." I might have misremembered.
I think it's slightly different, but
Oh yeah, I remember. No, it's "Your mother cooks socks in hell," which I always find that's a really weird recipe. What a strange recipe. Why would she be cooking socks? It makes no sense. Unless it's like cooking socks is code for like giving them a really deep clean.
You have to keep me laughing so that we can't hear the air conditioning. Your goal, your mission, if you should choose to accept it.
Should I choose to accept it?
Yeah.
Oh, apparently Mission Impossible number whatever has become a bloated mess because of COVID-19.
Oh.
That wasn't very exciting. I don't know why I told you that. I just read it yesterday.
And so what did you bring to this table in this rather
do
cavey room?
Do you know what?
Did you?
I brought a question for you, and I was like really proud of myself because I was driving home last night and went, that is the question.
And was it before or after your naps?
It was somewhere in between my two naps, and I thought to myself, it picks up some of the things that we've been talking about. It starts to tie ideas together, and I woke up this morning.
You couldn't remember it.
I really wish I'd written it down.
I used to collaborate with people like you. I had the best idea last night or yesterday.
I really was proud of it. It was one of those things that I thought, yep, it just puts a bow on the whole thing. The whole thing about froligs and frenemies and friendship and frangipange, the whole 9 yards.
I had one of my colleagues today said, "Oh yeah, and froligs." So I have a question for you.
Do it.
One of them. Yes, and this is it.
Go.
I'm going to adapt the question. Oh. And the question is this: How has the pandemic shown your character?
To whom? To myself or to others?
To you. You go, this is the pandemic has shown a side of me that. Yeah, or revealed a side of you, or is that enough?
Yeah, it is actually, because I think this week has clarified some things that I think I was already aware of. So I've spoken in the past about the fact that I quit a job just before the pandemic. Yeah. I had that job for 12, nearly 13
Yeah.
years, and I
Good
thought
run.
it was I thought I was the person who stayed in post for a while. I thought I was the person who would who would find themselves saying to their retirement, "Well, we've tried it that way before, and I'll tell you when. It was 17 years ago, and it didn't work then, and it won't work now."
Yes, we can't
And I
be a
was
faculty again for the third time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was a bit anxious, I think, about becoming that person, but I could see myself turning into that person, and that's probably one of the really big motivators for me quitting that particular job.
Yep.
What I didn't realise was that as a result of having done that and then going straight into the pandemic and living for probably nearly a year, not really being sure if we would be able to keep the house.
Yes.
Thinking, we've got a certain amount of money, it's going to run out, and what's going to happen thereafter? Okay. So being in that slightly fizzy moment of thinking that I needed security. But what's happened is, I think I have become part of the Great Resignation.
Oh.
Yeah, so I have quit 3 jobs since the pandemic. I just keep quitting
Do you think
them.
everyone would understand or have heard of the Great Resignation?
Perhaps we can refresh people's
How would
memory
you
now.
describe it?
Well, it's been sort of typified by people experiencing working from home, and as a result of the COVID-19 novel coronavirus that emerged in.
Very formal.
Did you like how I gave it?
2019, of course. Hence
2019. Yeah, November, December, it started to emerge, didn't it? 2019. So as a result of the impact that had globally, people started to work from home, and I think that did 2 things. One, it put pressure on people to be constantly on and not having the space to step away from work, and I think some employers were not overly thoughtful about the idea that some people had to suddenly move their experience of an office culture into a home culture. And of course, I recognise that I'm talking here about people who work primarily in front of computer screens, in contrast to many key workers who continue to go in, day out during the pandemic.
I think that people who work in front of computer screens, they're called knowledge workers.
I'm not sure we're dealing with knowledge, but okay.
I think workers who sit in front of computer screens is actually more accurate. I think you're right. Let's stay with that.
Yeah. And I think there's a kind of a twofold thing. One was that people started to go, "Oh, I quite like working from home. Maybe I need to find a way that I can do more of that." And other people going, "Actually,
Whoa.
I don't like what this does.
Yep.
This has removed a sense of autonomy for me at home, and suddenly my boss thinks they own my house, or at least this little corner of it, and I'm constantly So I think that's led to lots of this phenomenon. I don't know how it's actually played out in kind of employment, because I don't employ people, but people resigning from posts, not en masse, but in higher numbers, as they sort of go, I don't have to do it this way, I can do it that way.
Because I did think, that was part of also that the pandemic created a kind of is the word scission? A split. So, this created this sort of scission between, in the sense of, between the way life was and the way life became. And it forced people, or demanded of people, to rethink what their priorities were and what they really wanted to do with their lives. It was like a kind of a reckoning. It forced a reckoning for people, which, as you've described, in terms of that kind of, for us, for those of us who labour in front of computer screens. Yeah. So you think, and so what is the revealing yourself part of that?
Oh yeah, it's made me realise that I have let go of the sense of being institutionalized in the way that I had previously thought I was.
I did think you were going to say yes. Let go of the idea that I'm somehow reliable.
Actually, that's quite interesting. It hasn't made me think that. It's made me realise that I don't need to be in a place for a long time to have an impact.
Yeah.
And I don't mean I mean one. You know, if you arrive and you start to do a job and you do that job well, you will inform things that happen after you've gone.
Very, very interesting. But what is that revealing about you? You talked about it in the abstract, you know, that one can make an impact. Are you saying that you were able to?
Okay, no. It's that's you said. You joked. It's made you realise that you're unreliable. Yeah. So I was responding to that.
Oh, sorry.
I was responding to your flippancy and saying, no, it hasn't made me notice that I'm unreliable. What it's made me realise is that I'm not institutionalised in the way that I thought I was, and I am more resistant to it than I had historically been.
Wow.
That I feel much more capable and more able to say, I don't have to be here. If another opportunity emerges that is a better fit for me, I don't owe anybody anything.
Wow.
The only people I owe things to are myself and my wife.
And do you think that sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, I just realised as I said that out loud, that sounded bolder and harder than perhaps I had intended. But I will clarify after you've asked the question that you're just in the process of doing.
Yeah, I was just thinking, that's been developing over the course of the pandemic?
I think that the pandemic has clarified effectively that I'll be dead for much longer than I'll be alive.
And do you think the pandemic has exacerbated or just brought into sharp relief your midlifing status? Like, to me, part of this is also about what I would think of even if the pandemic hadn't happened, that kind of the sort of the things we think about in our middle years.
I think this does go to the thing that I was also thinking about this on the journey home yesterday, and it wasn't the the fabled question that has eluded me and continues to elude me. But I was thinking about, we had talked about the idea of ambition a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And that you'd said that you feel that you've shucked off any sense of ambition.
Yes.
In that you've been able to recognise how small you are.
Similar to I'm going to be dead a lot longer than I will have been alive.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, interestingly, I don't know if it is interesting, but I think similarly is probably the word I mean. My decision to make moves is based less on ambition and more on experience and the experiences I want to have.
Yeah.
I think that's what it means, yeah. So, what about you? What's come into clarity for you? Because you've had a torrid pandemic that's been not pandemic related, but exacerbated, I guess, by the pandemic.
Or
things cast into relief.
Yes, sharpened by the pandemic. So one of the things I try and do when I write down these things as possible things to discuss is that I try not to think about them, or in fact I've written them so long ago that I don't remember anyway, and this is one of those.
Yeah.
So I haven't thought about it.
Okay.
Just in case you...
In case I thought I was going to be on the receiving end of a...
Well, let me... yes, sir.
Unaccustomed as I am.
I'd like to start by thanking my parents. I think one way to think through that is how have I responded to the pandemic? You know, what's it done to me? It's really interesting, isn't it? I shouldn't ever, and I do it too often, preface anything I'm going to say with those particular words. But the thing that comes to mind is, and this is a very curious word to say, is evidence. And I'll say one other word is risk. And I think there've been that two things, which is, how is it that we come to know things? How is it that we come to decide I'm going to do this? And so that, and I might even say trust, medicine informed by science. It's not. I didn't need a pandemic to show this to me, but it really did, as I say, sharpen that sense, which is I overwhelmingly trust that system. And then there's also the question of how it's affected my sense of the risks I might take. I think it revealed a kind of conservatism when it came to risk that I think in hindsight I find a little bit surprising, that I was more risk averse than I wasn't. And of course those two things are related, meaning risk and evidence. You go back to the original question, how it's shown me, which is the extent to which it's a little bit like the flip side of what you've just described, which is the extent to which I am. I haven't thought that through, though, so I'm slightly a bit nervous expressing it.
That you've discovered a sense of kind of being more risk-averse than you thought you were. That's interesting that you find that makes you nervous because you haven't thought that through, because it's not like...
Well, yeah, the not thinking it through is because I'm, wow, is that what I really think? Is that what it is that I'm trying to say? Like I'm improvising.
Is it because as you say it out loud, it feels a bit more bald than you were imagining it was going to sound when it was coming out? Like,
I think it's because I don't see myself as being, as you described as yourself, as you're not as institutionalized as you might have imagined. I don't see myself as being invested in the concept of the state at all. And yet here I am saying it revealed a certain trust in those mechanisms. I mean, not all of them, but...
I think that's really... that's actually quite touching, Simon.
Yeah,
I'm touched by that.
It's funny because I wasn't thinking of it as positive or negative, just slightly surprising. And then my ambivalence was more about because I hadn't thought it through. You know, I didn't want to misrepresent myself, I guess. Yeah, it's. I think it touches on last week's hope and despair and disappointment. I'm going to watch Reacher on Amazon.
Oh, yes. Now, doesn't he feel like a good Reacher?
A little more than Tom Cruise, it's fair to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it about Tom that didn't quite sit with you in terms of Jack Reacher?
For ULs and FLs who are unfamiliar with the work of Lee Child, Reacher is described as 6'4" and hewn from rock. So perhaps you would understand why we might struggle to think of Tom Cruise as, conforming to that particular physicality.
Indeed, and we're not the only ones to have had this thought. It's true.
For me, I don't think it was the fact that he was small and slight, although that was a big part of it. I just found him to be too verbose.
Yes, that's true, and just too articulate. I mean,
exactly.
He's almost like a grunter, really, isn't he?
He really is. I like that the first 8 minutes of this season, just him walking, coming in, eating pie. That's it.
Yeah,
good stuff.
No, it was great fun. I just want to raise one little thing, which is, could you? I'm going to send you a little link right now. Is that okay to do that?
Oh,
and it's very brief.
Okay.
Just give me a moment.
I'm giving you a moment, and while I give you a moment, I will also encourage people to watch Reacher because Alan Ritson, is he called? The guy who plays Reacher is naked quite a lot of the time, and he looks very, very good with his clothes off.
He's got some serious guns, doesn't he?
Oh my God! It's not his guns that bother me. It's his that impress me. It's his back.
Yes, although I remember meeting someone years ago who talked about those. And she didn't know the name of and she just said, it's just those. And it's that part where your abdominals kind of stop.
Oh, we've talked about that. You talked on the podcast about those.
Have we? Have I?
Yeah,
oh, no.
Yeah, and I
it's
think
time to stop.
No, it's okay. I might have cut it out because I said, "Are you talking about cum gutters?" And then I realised that
and then
was
you'll have to cut it out again.
And I cut it out because I might leave them in this time. Boy cleavage.
So I've just sent you. You might have seen it. Have
you emailed it?
I've just messaged Lee a link, which will be in the show notes, assuming this makes the cut, and it's of a Kia, which is a native parrot in New Zealand, who steals a GoPro and then takes off. Have you seen it, Lee?
No, I haven't seen it, but I am.
Going to give you a moment to watch that. Are you watching it?
I'm watching it right now. It's quite amazing.
Can you hear it?
No, because I have the sound.
There's just a thing at the end which I'd like you to hear when the camera gets picked up.
One second. Yes!
That's what made me laugh. I mean, it's a great video, but that's what made me laugh the loudest was this New Zealand. Have another go, Lee?
Yes.
Oh, see, I think that's more Australian to me.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's great. It's partly
Yes.
because I've
Now that for me, I think yes would be Australian. If I was trying to be Australian, I'd go yes. Whereas I definitely tried to go yes.
That was pretty good, actually. I think you're right. So yes, I think of it as yes.
Pin.
Yeah, see, that's easier. Anyway, I've been having this conversation with an Italian today about trying to, but yeah, I couldn't do the Australian. Yes. It just all comes out Kiwi.
Does it?
Yes.
Right. Well, I can't. I've got no confidence that I can really do either.
You don't have any skin in the game when it comes to.
I have no.
Those particular accents.
None at all.
That's true.
None at all. Those vowel sounds just are a delight to enjoy from a distance, and I recognise they sit poorly in my mouth.